Richlandia. Welcome to the show. We're going to be doing animal flow tonight. I don't know why I still have my hat and glasses on. It was very nice of my wife to make sure and let me know that when I wear a hat, my ears stick way out. So I've been tucking my ears underneath the hat. I don't know if that helps or even looks funnier, but who knows? We'll leave one out, pull a little Rakim. No, we'll see what happens. So how's everyone doing? How was your weekend? It was going well. Tonight, as we talked about last week, we're going to be doing some animal flow. So we're going to be taking the next 6 weeks and putting something together. A little flow here. If you've never done it before, that's okay. If you've never tuned in before, that's okay too. One of the things I do quite often when I talk is I say the word so a lot. So, turn it into a bit of a drinking game sometimes. So if you're gonna say the word so and you're not working out, feel free to have a drink. If you want to live dangerously and you are working out, you can have a drink, but that's on you. So, all right. Now, one of the things we're gonna do, we're gonna jump right in and start getting warmed up. We're gonna warm up our ankles and our hands, or should I say feet and hands. And I talked about this last week, but we're gonna go over it one more time really quickly here. First of all, make sure this stays in focus. That would be really helpful. But the other part of this that we're going to focus on is that we have 206 bones in this entire body. We have 26 bones in each hand, we have 26 bones in each foot. So if you are not taking care of those little muscles that are in your hands and feet, you're going to have some issues later in life. But the other part to remember, especially when we start working out, is that you have 26 bones in each foot, 2 bones in your shin, 1 long head bone, and ball and socket joint. So that's also the same, like your arm is basically a miniature foot or a miniature leg, right? 26 bones in each hand, 2 bones, 1 long head, ball and socket joint. Now, the ball and socket joint in your hip doesn't have quite as much mobility as the ball and socket joint in your shoulder. However, I remind people of this because we want to have greater range of motion in our hips. And we do not live in a society that working conditions don't allow us to have greater hip mobility in general, right? People are generally sitting at desks all day, playing solitaire or whatever it is they do at a desk job these days. So if you're not working out your hips, you're probably not working out your hands and your feet. So we're going to start off with our feet. And it's pretty simple, really. We're just going to do this by walking in a circle. So you're going to watch my feet for a few minutes. Unless you're doing this with me, then I want you to stand up and do it yourself. But we're going to walk in a circle. First, we're going to walk on our tiptoes on the ball of our foot. I'm not sure why that just popped on, but we're going to turn that off again. Sometimes people like to pop those around here. Turn it off. There we go. All right. Sometimes pulling the gang interrupts your workout. What are you going to do, right? So we're going to walk in a circle. We're going to start on the ball of our foot. Then for 1 circle. On the 2nd circle, we're going to walk on the heel of our foot. The 3rd circle, we're going to very gingerly walk on the outside of our feet. And the 4th circle, we're going to walk more on the inside of the feet. Now, keep in mind, after the 1st circle, generally people make those circles a little bit smaller. So you're going to try to keep that circle the same distance. So you're going to get on the ball of your foot, start walking around. Now, also, if you have quite a few ankle injuries growing up, you know your body better than I do. So if this is not something that's going to be good for you to do, don't do that. All right, there's 1 circle. Now we're going to walk on our heels. We're going to come back to all of this when we talk about doing stuff on our hands in a second. And yes, this looks very funny. I'm okay with that. And I'm doing this so you can see that I too am not shortening my circle, even though I very desperately want to. And that generally happens around, well, right now when we go to the outside of our feet. If your legs are, calves are burning a little bit, or your shins, that's normal. If you feel silly, that's normal too. Don't worry about it. I feel silly and I know what I'm doing. All right, now we're going to go for on the inside. And this I always find the hardest. Oh man, it's already burning. But, you know, that's okay. We want to work out everything, right? But the other nice thing about warming up like this is it kind of helps you understand that when I'm walking normally, I want to use the whole foot, right? So I'm not just walking on my heels, I'm not just walking on my tiptoes, I'm using the whole foot to walk around. That's important information to keep in mind when it comes to applying more and more pressure on your hands and wrists, right? Because a lot of times people will say that they don't like push-ups because it hurts their wrists. And that's fair, I used to be one of those people. But part of that is that our hands aren't strong enough to hold ourselves up. And let's try that again. A lot of the times people are putting too much pressure just on the heel of their hand. So whenever we're on our hands and knees, we're going to warm our hands in a second, make sure that you're putting the heel of the hand down and the fingertips and you're gripping the floor, right? But before we do any of that, we just want to warm up our wrists first. So you take your hands like so, just a few little mobility drills here. And I like sitting on my feet like this because it kind of helps stretch out the front of my shin a little bit as well. So I'm just going to circle and make like a figure eight. And it's a little reminiscent of, you know, breakdancing. You'll feel that in a second, I think. If you're old like me and you did breakdancing back in the 80s, then you might recognize it. And reverse. And circle around the air. I feel like I finally got back on track this week. Do a little wave motion here. If you're like me, you'll feel those shoulders crack a little bit. And then reverse. Coming through here. Alright, now we're going to do something called magnetic wrists. Hands together. And I'm going to circle, keeping contact the whole time. This is where I tend to get a really good stretch for myself. I'm already sweating, you know, and reverse. Certainly that foot warm up kind of sucks. Of course, I'm not sweating like the Miami Heat getting their ass kicked to Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Game 4, when I left, it was like 79 to 34 or something. It was pretty bad in the fourth, or in the third. All right. So we warmed up our wrists a little bit. I'm gonna do some neck rolls, especially if you've been sitting at work all day. All right, so from here, we're just gonna get started on some of the things that we wanna make sure that we focus on while we're on our hands and feet doing quadrupedal movement. I already started to talk about the hands a little bit, what you wanna do on the floor. One of the things that really helps, I find a lot of times, is that if you spread your fingers as wide as you can, and as you press the base of your hand into the ground, you're pressing your fingertips in. So it's almost like you're trying to create like a suction cup with your palm, if you will. And that is going to help activate all the muscles in your wrists, right? Now, a couple of things we want to talk about. And again, this is going to take 6 weeks before we get to the end of this flow. So tonight might be a little bit more just demonstration and talking, making sure that we have terminology correct and what we're talking about. So one of the big things that we do want to think about often, and as we work out for a lot of things, are our shoulders, right? And a lot of times you'll hear me say that you want to drive your shoulders down your back, right? Depress the shoulders. So what we want to avoid in some of these positions is having the shoulders up here around our neck, like so, right? So just quick kind of terminology. This, my shoulders are elevated. When I bring them down, they're depressed. If I am out here and I'm reaching out and spreading my shoulder blades apart, here, if I'm here, I'm protracted. If I'm squeezing them together, I'm retracted, right? Protracted, retracted, elevated, depressed. So those are the things that we want to kind of think about, making sure when we are, say, in our what's known as static beast position, we don't want those shoulders up by our ears. When we're in this position, we want those shoulders depressed. We want them driving down our back, right? So if you hear me say, put your shoulder blades in your back pocket, you want to drive those shoulder blades back, right? Okay, so if we tuned in Wednesday, which sorry I couldn't be here Friday, there was a training going on here in the studio. So I had to make sure that we didn't bother them. And so, drink. All right, so we're gonna go over a few of those positions that we talked about on Wednesday. This one, this first one we just talked about, static beast, right? Here, knees are slightly in front of the hips. Right? I don't want my hips directly above my knees, I want them slightly back. My hands are on the ground, shoulder width apart. My knees are hip width apart. And again, we want to lock out this elbow over here. So a lot of times you might see me do this and driving the shoulders down the back and then locking those elbows out. From the side, you can see how that kind of locks me in position, right? So I'm here. Can't really go, I'm pretty solid, right? And that's what we want. So that's static beast. This is static crab. It looks like the capital letter M, right? My tailbone off the ground here. We don't want the butt too close to the feet. We don't want the butt too close to the hands. We want to find that sweet spot in the middle. Driving the shoulder blades down my back, lifting the sternum up. I'm not curling the tailbone underneath, because as you see, as I do that, my shoulders go right by my ears, right? So I want to drive the tailbone down the ground, drive the crown of my head to my ceiling. Now I have a nice long spine. And I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but my muscles are working pretty hard to make sure and keep me up here. This workout is very deceptive. So as you start to go through and do this, you're going to feel winded and you're going to think, I didn't do too much. That's okay. It's a lot, right? I'm not going to take the time to break down why this is such an intense feeling sometimes, because we are hitting all the nervous receptors in our hands and our feet working together, which is not often, doesn't happen too often. Unless you also like to weight train barefoot like I do, that's another story. So, we got static beast, static crab. Here, again, we have deep ape, all right? And the deep ape is gonna look different for everybody. And all of these exercises are gonna look different. So if you happen to be working out next to someone and they can have their feet really close together, great. I'm not one of those people yet. I'm right here. You might be here. That might be as low as you can go depending on how stiff you are. That's okay. So here's deep ape, static beast, static crab. Then my personal favorite, loaded beast. There are two ways you can get into loaded beast. One of them, go from static beast and just go back onto your, pushing your hips back over your heels. The knees come out slightly and you just kind of reach into this position. You're trying to get as low as you can. The other thing, is one that I find a little bit easier, is if you get into a nice child's pose position, turn your toes underneath you so you're on the ball of your foot, and then press back with those hands and splay the knees out to the side of the body. I find that gets me a little bit lower, especially on a floor like this where you can't slide your hands too easily. It just kind of helps to get set up in that position and go. Now, if you've watched me do that loaded beast exercising thing, I don't have the shoulder mobility for that. I got you covered. Go grab some yoga blocks or a foam roller, and I'm going to show you how we're going to take 2 minutes to kind of get that shoulder mobility up a little bit better. Now, this is, in Pilates, we refer to this as a PNF stretch. Proprio-neuro something. I cannot remember the rest of that. But if you've ever been in a gym and you've had a trainer stretch you out at the end of your workout, and they bring your leg and hold a bit of a position, then they ease off and have you press into their shoulder for a second, and they stretch you and you go a little bit further. That's kind of what we're going to do for ourselves here. So I'm going to take my watch. Well, right now my clock, because I haven't gotten my new watch sent yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay on the ground and we're going to press into the ground for 30 seconds as hard as we can. All right? My head's going to be down. I'm going to do this timer just so I can have this go off at 30 seconds. I'm going to be pressing on the whole time. So what's going to happen, I'm going to press for 30 seconds, lift my arms up for 30 seconds, press again on here for 30 seconds, and then lift and hold for 30 more seconds. Alright, are we ready? Ready, Mark? Get set, press. Now there's not a whole lot to do, but look at the floor here, so that's kind of boring. So just kind of think about all the things you did incorrectly today that's going to keep you up all night. And the thing you shouldn't have said when maybe you're at the grocery store and someone said, here's your change, and you say, you too, check. Got a very funny story about that for myself. Alright, 30 seconds, lift those arms up for 30 seconds. You can try to count on your own, but honestly, if you've seen the Jeopardy theme song, that will help pass time a little bit more as well. But I always get mixed up in the middle of the Jeopardy theme song because I can't tell if I'm starting over from the beginning or if I picked up in the middle, so random thoughts tend to help ease this process a lot easier for me. You do what you gotta do. I really wish this timer would go off now because I feel like it's about time. Oh, thank you. There it is. Alright, here we go. Now I'm going to press into this. Hey, I said shut up. There you go. Alright, press into this as hard as I can. Trying to lift everything up. It's also a great warm up for your back muscles as well. Press down nice and hard. Come on, timer. If you sit at a desk all day, you should probably do this every day at the end of the day or at the beginning. Alright, it's about time now, yeah? Timer man? There it is. Alright, now pick those arms up for 30 more seconds. Now I can definitely get my arms a little bit higher this time. Keep that stretch in there, keep the arms long, keep the elbows straight. This is not necessarily the most fun thing to try to talk through as you do it, but it also feels like a bit more of a challenge, so it's kind of fun as well. Get those arms nice and high. Alright, come on, timer. There's my automatic duck. Perfect. Alright. So now, see if that doesn't feel a little bit more comfortable and easy to get your arms up by your ears. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, alright. So, drink. What do we do here, and how do we get in these positions, and why do we get in these positions? Well, static beast and static crab are pretty much, I would say, well, static beast, static crab, deep ape, and loaded beast. And that's where all your positions are going to start. All of your flow, all your movement. So really locking those in are going to be key, right? One of the ways that we like to practice these is holds, right? Call them activation holds. So you're going to get on your hands and knees, static beast. We're going to drive those shoulder blades down our back, lock out those elbows. I'm going to pick my knees up for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now from there, I'm going to start lifting up individual limbs. So I'm going to start with my feet. I'm going to pick up my left foot and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right foot, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now here's where the hard part comes in. We want to make sure that we can do this without shifting weight too much. The first few times you do it, you might, that's okay, right? This isn't about being perfect. You're going to see me screw up all night long. Get on your hands and knees, lift those knees up, and just retract the shoulder blade to lift the hand up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring it down and switch. Retract the other shoulder blade for the left hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. So the idea of retracting back to pick that hand up is going to help quite a bit. All right, go Dodgers. Yeah, you heard it. All right. Now, from here, we're going to take that and we are going to lift opposite hand and foot. So I'm going to pick up my right hand and my left foot here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Set them down, switch. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now, one of the things we don't do is we don't do the same side because we don't want to fall. It's almost, I don't want to say impossible to do, but it's very hard to do. All right, so we just did some activation for static beast. As you can see, I'm getting a little sweaty here, so we're getting nice and warmed up. Now we're going to do the same thing with static crab. And drive the shoulder blades down, lift up into the horizon, and I'm going to pick up my left foot. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pick up my right foot. 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pick up my left hand. And this is what I want to do is this. We're just going to try to stay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left hand, right foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And switch. Right hand, left foot. 3, 4, 5, and relax. All right, if you're following along, if that's gotten your heartbeat going, let me know. Mine has. So we're going pretty quickly here, starting to sweat a little bit. So those are a few activations. If there's anything you do for the rest of the week to practice any of this, I recommend doing those because that's only going to get your hands stronger, get your arms stronger. Now with static beast and static crab, we also do traveling forms. We do traveling forms with ape as well, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And this is where I think it's a lot of fun. It's a pretty big challenge in a lot of ways. So my advice to you on this one is keep it small, right? We tend to try to overreach as we take these steps. So there's a few different ways that we travel. First, we're going to go forward. I'm going to kind of go at it diagonal so you can see this. But what I'm going to do every single time, I'm going to pick my hand and foot up at the same time, and they're going to land at the same time. Now, as you're going through this with me, if you're getting too tired to do this, but you want to keep trying to work out and move along with us, you can just keep your shins on the ground and do opposite hand and foot, opposite hand and foot. Right? Until you get more comfortable or more strong, more comfortable on your wrist or stronger in where you need to be in order to keep the knees off the whole time. There is going to be a lot of breaks as we go through all this because I like breaks and I talk a lot. So there you have it. Only when there's no one to talk to. If I'm in a group of people, I don't say a word. I don't know why, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, all right. So, forward traveling beast. I drive the shoulder blades down my back, I lock out my wrists, and I lift my knees 1 inch off the ground. And I'm going to start with my left hand and my right foot. I'm going to pick them up at the same time, land at the same time. Now, after I do that, with this arm, I'm going to make sure that I reset that arm. And drive the shoulder blade down. We refer to it as corkscrew, right? So I'm going to corkscrew that arm to help keep that shoulder blade back down my back and lock the elbow out. So we're going to do 3 steps. I'm going to get up, lift the knees up, pick the hand and foot up off the ground, land, lock that arm out. Pick the hand and foot up, land, lock that arm out. 3, let's do 1 more. 4, lock it out. Now, we're going to do the exact same thing in reverse, and this is where people tend to overstep, especially the back leg. Keep it simple, keep it small. So I get in position, flat is back, flat is back. My back is flat, there we go. My elbows are locked out, lift my knees up, left hand and right foot pick up, and I go back, put them down, lock it out. Up and down, lock it out. Reset, reset, right? So we're not taking these massive steps across the room. So what tends to happen as we do that is that I'm now way out of proportion and I'm not able to distribute the weight evenly on my body. So it actually makes it a lot harder. This modality of exercise, in anything you do, the smaller, generally the better, right? Now, when I do like full scorpion later, when you start getting that, you're gonna say, okay, that looks a little big. You'll see what I mean. But when we are talking about these traveling forms, traveling back and forth, or walking back and forth, or even side to side, the smaller, the better. So going side to side is another great way to practice this work. Because this is very linear, we move like this all day. Laterally, we want to get a little adduction and adduction in there. So with this, I'm going to start with my hands together and my knees a little wider than normal, because as I go sideways, I'm going to go that way. I'm going to move over a little bit more this way. Start with my hands together. Now I'm going to pick up my left hand and my right hand and my left foot, and those come over at the same time. So now you can see my feet are together, and they're in the middle between my hands. And I step to the side. Now my hands are between my knees. Now, again, we can't get too big because I can't be out here with those steps. So as you practice this at home on your own, just keep it nice and small. All right, so that's lateral traveling beast. Now, I'm gonna have to look this up when I get home. I can't remember if we do lateral traveling crab or not, but I mean, and I really don't think it'd be, I'll have to double check in the book if this is a legal move or not, but you can play around with that as well. But with forward backward traveling crab, it's a little different than beast because of the articulation we try to get in our hands and our feet. So when we're in static beast or when we're in traveling beast, we're on the ball of our foot the whole time. So the ball of the foot comes up and the hand lands at the same time, right? But with crab, we're going to try to articulate. Articulate's not the right word I want, but it'll come to me in a second. I'm going to do the exact same rule with those arms as far as locking everything how it goes, right? So as I lift my sternum up, I'm corkscrewing those arms behind me, and driving my palms into the ground. And the difference now, I'm going to pick up my right foot and my left hand. I'm going to travel forward. I picked them up at the same time, they land at the same time, but my fingertips are hitting and the heel of my foot is hitting at the same time. And as the toes come down, the palm comes down. The base of my hand comes down, right? So we're here, and go up, down, up, down. Now, you can't see it on my right arm, but I'm going to lock that arm out, keeping the tailbone down, right? Up, articulate, lock. Articulate, lock. Alright? Now then we reverse that. So here's where it gets really hard going backwards. So if you can't go palm, hand, right now just focus on having a flat hand. So when we go backwards, left hand, right foot, it's really easy to get the toes down first, but now I gotta get the palm of my hand down and then the fingers. Toes, palm, fingers. Toes, palm, fingers. Toes, palm, fingers. Right? So, this is a lot more work than I thought. Well, I shouldn't say that I thought. A lot more work than I remember. Just these small traveling forms here. So, well, who is that? I can't see anything without my glasses. Invisible Shield. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the team. Alright, so we've got our traveling forms here. So how else do we do traveling forms? Well, we also do traveling forms as far as let's try that again. Let's try to speak here, Jeremy. We do traveling forms as far as 8 goes. Now, this one can be a little rough on your hands. It can be a little rough on your shoulders if you're not someone who normally does things like handstands. This might take some time to get used to it. But I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. We're not going to play around with this too much. But we're going to set deep 8. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to jump and land on my hands. I'm going to try to hold it and land like a little ninja with the balls of my feet on the ground. So we're going to set deep 8. Whew. Let's see if I can do that again. From here, up. It's coming along. So I've had to re-practice this one quite a bit. And it is very hard to do. So that's forward traveling 8. But now we're also going to do lateral traveling 8. And we do 3 different forms of that, right? And again, if you're following along at home and you're like, oh, this is starting to hurt, take a break. Right? Don't worry about that. Take your time. So as we do these lateral traveling 8s, when I'm going to come to you, I set my 8 position, and I'm going to bring my hands to the ground. So if you think about a long straight line on here, I'm going to go to the ground, kind of jump gently, and over. So if you think about that lateral traveling beast, where we go to the side, now my knees are in between my hands, and here, as I do traveling 8, I'm going to kind of put my hand so that my foot is between the hands, right? And when I land, this foot lands between those hands. Here. And just get used to this movement, rocking back and forth and finding your spot. We're going to get into the small details of that in a second, but just the idea of putting more weight in your shoulders, going side to side. Small movement, right? I'm not way out here. This is lateral traveling 1. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Right? Hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Now you notice as I'm doing this every time, I'm coming up. So we're not, okay, I guess you could, but that's not what we're trying to achieve here. Let me bring this up just a little bit. So you take your time with it. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Right? Now, if you're doing this, you're like, God, that's hurting my hips. That's okay. They'll get used to it. I know that sounds kind of like a cop-out. But if you don't spend a lot of time in this position, it's going to be hard for you to start spending time in this position, right? And that's all right. That's part of what all this is about. So, hold on. All right. So that's lateral traveling aid 1. Lateral traveling aid 2, bit more of a handstandish kind of exercise. I'm not phenomenal at these. That's okay, right? No one's supposed to be yet. So as I'm here, I'm actually going to come up a little bit to get started. I'm going to come up onto my heels. I'm going to bring this hand down. Hold on, let me do it real quick. There we go. Up. Now I gotta hold a little bit longer, right? So they come up. Kind of switch those feet, if you can see that. Up. And now if we can get a little bit higher as we do that. Ooh. And then we'll start working on that control. That's when you start to really feel more in your shoulders and in your chest. Whew. All right. So that's lateral traveling aid 2. I don't do these too often when I create flows, especially in level 1, because it's just kind of hard to throw them in there. As you can tell, it gets tiring. But that's all right. That's why we take water breaks or tea breaks. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to type it in and ask. So, from here, what does lateral traveling aid 3 mean? Well, that's the long distance one. So, for lateral traveling aid 1, very small. Lateral traveling aid 2, still very small. And I'm leaving out some of the details of that one because we're not going to focus too much on this one right now. Lateral traveling aid 3, you saw in lateral traveling aid 1, this leg is going to stay tucked, right? So I'm up, I land on this foot, and I come down. Lateral traveling aid 3, this leg extends, so I come up, I reach, I come over, and I'm here. I reach, and I turn. So I travel a lot more ground, reach, over. So if you ever had an asshole trainer that has made you do Cossack squats with a weight, that's basically what I'm making you do with this one. Which is why this is some of the best things you can do if you're traveling and you don't have equipment to work out with. You can still get that same lower body workout with something like this. All right, so that's lateral traveling aid 1, 2, and 3. I'm out of breath, that's okay. If you're doing this, starting to feel like your shoulders, remember, keep driving the shoulder blades down your back. Whew. And cool off a little bit here. Sometimes hot tea is not the best thing to drink when you're working out, but that's all right. Okay, so now, I told you I'd say the word so a lot. If you turned it into a drinking game and you're drunk already, good on you. Well done, I'm proud of you. As long as you're having fun. So how do we start to make some of this stuff flow together, right? Well, one of the things I said, magic spells, thank you for the follow. Glad you could be here. So as we take, let's see, oh, there's a ball. to make this kind of flow together and work, the first thing we're really going to learn is called an underswitch. And this goes from being a static crab position to a static beast position, or vice versa. And the first few times you do this, it may be wild and out of control. That's okay, right? We're going to reel it back in. We're going to play around with it. So, how do we make that call? How do we talk about it? How do we do it? All right. One of the reasons why you don't see a yoga mat here is because I am not trying to stay in one plane, right? As you can tell by as much as I've done with all the traveling apes, we move around quite often in animal flow. Especially as we start to rotate and turn, when we come through, I'm never going to end looking in the same position as I might have when I started, right? So we start to get all of these things. So just having a yoga mat can actually throw you off. You're like, wait, I'm supposed to be here? No, don't worry about it. You're never going to come back to that exact same position. So, how do we start these exercises? How do we start these rotations? I don't really need this yet. So, we start in our loaded beast, or our static beast position. I'm going to call something called a right leg under switch, right? A right leg under switch means I'm going to pick up my right leg back here, this guy, and my left hand, and that leg, so I get in that position, right leg under switch, pick them up, that leg comes under me, as you can see, I turn around, foot comes down, and the hand comes down at the same time, right? No? Okay, good. So from here, if I go back, right leg under switch, I pick up my left hand, my right foot, I lift the heel on my left leg that you can't really see, there's under there, and I'm going to come under, and now I'm right back in my loaded beast, my static beast position. So we're going to take a few times to do that. We're going to do right leg under switch. What tends to happen sometimes, if you get messed up, people tend to try to over switch, right? So if I say right leg under switch, and you're trying to go that way, it's because you're trying to go over the back, you're going to go underneath, all right? So from here, we're going to do, pick our knees up, we're going to do right leg under switch. So I pick up my left hand, right leg, I come through, I turn around. The very first thing I'm going to do, drop this heel, so put on a brake, bring the hand and foot down. Now if I do left leg under switch, I'm going to pick up my right hand and my left foot, lift the heel to step on the gas, rotate underneath, hand and foot laying at the same time. Alright? So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do that 3 times with the right leg. So you're going to go from static beast, static crab, static beast, static crab, right? So hit that static beast position, right leg under switch, right, left hand, right foot comes up, comes through, step on the brake, land. Right, left leg under switch. I said right leg under switch 5 times, but let's keep on the right leg. So right leg under switch, right foot, left hand, step on the gas, rotate, land at the same time. Right leg under switch, whoop. Right leg under switch. Now, just so we don't start getting nasty callus on the ball of one foot, especially on this rubber floor, we're going to switch it up a little bit. So from here, try to shoulder down and back, left leg under switch. Whoop. Left leg under switch. Left leg under switch. Left leg under switch. Now, we can start going in a circle. So, shoulders back and down. Pick the knees up, right leg under switch, left leg under switch, right leg under switch, left leg under switch, right leg under switch. You get the idea. Now reverse that. Right leg under switch, left leg under switch. So at no point, and we're doing this over and over, to not just get used to this movement, but to realize you can keep spinning and spinning. So at any point, don't ever feel like I gotta look straight ahead, all right? Now part of what can make people dizzy when they keep spinning and spinning is by not having something to look at, right? So my background is in gymnastics and springboard and platform diving. One of the things you have to do in both modalities is something called spotting. You got to spot your landing, you got to spot where you're going to hit the water. So if you are someone who tends to get vertigo or dizzy by doing the same thing over and over, make sure you find spots to look at. So for here, if I do right leg under switch, I'm kind of watching my hand the whole time as I start this motion, and then I'm going to watch my knee come through and then land. Right, when I go and do right leg under switch to static beast, I pick up the hand and foot, I can kind of watch this knee, and now I'm spotting the ground where I'm going to put that hand. Right? You don't want to be all over the room because you're going to get really lost, you're going to get really dizzy. So you want to kind of keep that focal point that even though you want it landing straight ahead, your vision, wherever you're going, should be straight ahead, right? So, we have our under switches down. That's okay. Go where you can, right? And now, obviously, again, thanks for the follow, thanks for chiming in. If you can't squat and that's due to injuries, past injuries, or you have bone on bone going on in your ankle, there's some mobility issues in there, that I can't fix. However, if it is more of a muscle situation, you're just kind of sitting here, and this is as low as you can get there, right? The other thing you can do, if you're trying to work on getting down into a squat, if you have some kind of bench at home, or a couch, or a doorway, you kind of hang out in that doorway, and start getting comfortable and more low in that spot. So that's something you can do on your own. Try to get used to that. Until then, if this is where you're at for your ape, that's where you're at, and that's okay. It'll eventually get lower and lower. So from there, how do we start to say, I don't know, add in some extra moves with these under switches? Well, we do something called an under switch tap. You can do that from static beast or static crab. If I said left leg under switch tap, all the beginning apply, right? I'm going to pick up my left leg and my right hand at the same time. I'm going to lift the heel on my right foot to step on the gas. I'm going to go through, and as soon as I get on, I'm going to tap and then come back. So I'm not even putting weight on the hand and foot that touch the ground. I'm here, tap, return. Right leg under switch tap, tap, and back. Left leg under switch tap, boop. Left leg under switch tap, boop. Right? So those are two somewhat simple ways. Sorry, Dodgers doing well. To start playing around with that flow on our own of how we can go from one position to the next and kind of speed that up. However, do not sacrifice quality for speed, right? There's plenty of time. And in fact, a lot of the time with these exercises, the slower you go, you're going to need more control, and it's actually going to be a little bit harder to do, right? So take your time on that. I'm playing around with this. And then I'm going to keep sweating for a little bit. That idea of getting into your squat, does that help? Is that something that you think you can do at home? If not, that's okay. If you don't want to answer, we can always have this conversation offline. So, squatting, especially as you get older, is going to be very important. So, I say this to every single person that I've ever worked with. If you want to be independent as you get older, the two things you have to stay up on are exercise and technology. The amount of clients that I've had come to me because they couldn't clean themselves on the toilet or they couldn't get themselves off of the toilet, that's what's going to hinder your independence as you get older. And when I say older, I'm talking about people in their 60s who are thinking that they need to go to a retirement home. So the more you can focus on doing a squat to get up and down off of that toilet. I mean, that's a squat every time, right? Boop. So, and again, shoot me a message later. We can always go over some of this offline in the whispers here on Twitch or on any social media platform you prefer. So with that, though, we're going to do one more exercise here, and we're going to talk about side kick throughs. So a side kick through, as you may have seen, is one of those where people come through and they do this neat fancy little thing off to the side, and they come back and they kick out over here, right? Now, I don't have time tonight to go into this whole idea of pulling an arm back into the sling for the fascial lines and everything. That's what your animal flow certification would be about. This is just about having fun with these exercises. So our position for this, I'm going to turn sideways as I kick to you, and you draw the shoulder blades down the back, lift my knees up. I start to come through like I'm going to do an under switch. However, as you notice with this heel back here, as I came through, I put the heel down so I stepped on the brake. And so now I am going to kick this leg out and pull this arm back to stretch, and then return, static beast. Right leg side kick through, same thing, pull back, return to static beast. Left leg side kick through, right hand, left foot come up, step on the brake, kick, stretch, opening that shoulder, right? We don't want this bent in here. We want to be back, driving the palm to the ground. Lift the heel up to step on the gas, come back to static beast. Boom. We can do this all day. Not that I'm trying to sound like Captain America, but we can. So, we went over quite a bit tonight. So we got side kick through, we've got static beast, loaded beast, static crab, deep ape, lateral traveling ape, forward traveling ape, side kick throughs, under switches. So quite a bit there as far as all the stuff we can get to. I'm 46. I'll be 47 in June. So it's something that I did not used to be this mobile. Years of gymnastics and diving, spring platform diving, and skateboarding created quite a bit of injuries on my body. Went for a career change, became a Pilates instructor, personal trainer, animal flow instructor. So when I first started doing this is not where my squat was. When I first started doing this, when I was first trying to get into a squat in general, it was about here with my hands on my knees, and I have to push up. So this will come, it takes time, and the key, as I'm learning with personal training, Pilates, or your Twitch channel, consistency is key. So the more you can practice something like this, the more often you can do it. And I don't think you're here for the beginning where we focused on shoulder mobility and how to get into a greater range of motion with that. But since I don't have a door here, I will use this piece of equipment. One of the things that you can kind of do, if you were to imagine you're holding onto the door jamb, right? So if you can get into your squat as deep as you can, hold this for 30 seconds, right? Maybe you kind of have someone pulling on you or whatever. Come up a little bit, relax those legs for about 30 seconds. Keep trying to keep them straight, stretch out the back of your hamstrings. And then see if you can't get a little bit lower, hold for 30 seconds, right? And you can do that over and over again. You can practice on squatting down to pick things up as opposed to bending over and possibly hurting your back. But it just takes time, it takes practice. And it's something that anybody can do. But it takes consistency, right? So with that, we're going to pick up on under switches and side kick throughs next Monday. Wednesday, I'll be here working out with an instructor I actually haven't met before. His name is Jev. Get down, my heels come up. Okay, so that's just some tightness in the calves as well, which again, if you have a foam roller, you can use a foam roller, kind of roll those out a little bit. If you don't have a foam roller, if you have a basketball, if you have a soccer ball, a baseball, squash ball, tennis ball, anything, you can put the ball, kind of roll out in the back of the calves and the heels. So just go where you can, and if your heels still come up a little bit, that's okay, that's good. 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 I quite often use this foam roller to kind of get things moving and warmed up a little bit. But again, use that consistency, it'll come. Hopefully you'll join me on Wednesday, and we'll be doing Pilates. Like I said, this Wednesday I'm working out with my friend Jev that I get to meet in person. That'll be a lot of fun. The following Wednesday, I don't know if Jev is going to join me, but my friend Yonatan is going to be here, and Yonatan is going to be working out on Pilates equipment, and I'm going to be working out next to him, trying to copy that with equipment that people might have at home. So for example, over here, those things are called the Wonder chairs. Well, if you don't have a Wonder chair at home, you can't do Pilates with us on the Wonder chair. But we're going to try to find a workaround of some things you can do with that. So, thank you for joining the stream. Nice to have you here, Invincible Shield. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Wednesday night. Have a great night. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I love you all. I'm out.